If you're like me, and you got no life and there's nowhere to go, then tune in to the Animation Truman Show. You'll be glad you did. I just turned on my microphone. Okay, I do not expect this to be a particularly long session tonight. It's been one of those days that's been fraught with a bit of techie issues. As you can see here, I'm trying to close Krita, and by gum, it didn't want to close. So, what is tonight about? Well, this was interesting. It's been a pretty productive day, actually. Gosh, where did I start? I started with this shot. So well, maybe not a bunch, but quite a few shots. That shot got fixed up. And then this is completely new. I changed Carliana so she doesn't look angry anymore. Now she says, instead of saying Tianara and getting angry at her, she says, darling, what are you doing? So I think one of the interesting things about Carliana, hey, Nugget. One of the interesting things about her is that she's not. The difference between her and Golik, since they're kind of the two villains, is that Golik is. He knows he's evil. Okay, he's an opportunistic scoundrel, and I realized, since this is the first time Carliana shows up in the show, I figured I've got the opportunity to, add some nuance to her character. Now's the time to do it before we get in too deep with her. And hey, Maria. And I felt that what makes her interesting to me is that she is a person who has a strong sense of entitlement. So she's not patently evil the way Golik is. In other words, she doesn't know she's evil. Okay. She's actually a lot scarier character because she finds Tianara's act of kindness baffling. Like giving cleanse to the beggar. She finds it baffling. Like, what are you doing? Like it mystifies her. So it's going to take a little effort for me to drive home that concept, but I like that spin on her character more. Okay, so as far as what I'm going to do, let me put the full screen preview here. The next shot is Mel noticing this interaction between Carliana and her mother, and he's kind of like, huh? Like, what's that about, And so that's going to be a recapitulation of the assets in this shot, actually, which is kind of good. The bad news is I did the shot, and I hate to say this, it sounds so cynical, but it's almost like a rule that you really don't want to. I did it, Maria. It actually happened. It happened about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, where I was just really having a good time, cranking along. And the good side of the story that I'm telling right now is that when I modified the shot, it went really quickly. So there was no big time expense, right, to doing it. The bad news is I got in the zone and was having a great time, and Tahoma crashed, and literally I lost all my work. So it was probably about 20 minutes work. So hence you get a blank shot right here. That's a little discouraging, but hey, what are you going to do? So the other aspect of tonight's session is I'm going to attempt to do a vocal transformation. I found a YouTube video of Sadhguru, and now I'm going to transition. The interesting thing about voice, and this has to do with finding the voice of Luka, is that with a voice, what you want to do is you want to find the pitch zone, you want to find the physiology in terms of how you use your mouth and your throat, and you sort of position your voice. You can sort of visualize where you place your voice. And then the third part would be sort of the attitude, or maybe a better word would be the persona of the character. And that's where you're getting into sort of a method acting approach, where mentally it really helps me a lot if I can visualize very clearly being that character. You know, in other words, mentally, I'm a visual learner, and when I see it in my mind, it's easier to capture the idea. So anyway, so I listened to this video of Sadhguru, and I'm like, okay, this is what we want for. So here goes the transformation. All right, now I have made the transformation to Sadhguru. At least I think that I have made the transition, and I will do my very, very best to hold on to it. Here is why. There is a reason, a method to the madness. What I want to do is find a voice for Luka. And in order to do a voice for Luka, I need an Indian voice. So again, I do not claim that I am necessarily doing the greatest job possible, but I will try. I will try my best. And to convert this voice into Luka, we would have to raise the pitch. So Luka would be up here more. He would have a higher voice because he's a child. And I do not know if I can do an Indian child, but I think I can if I really try. And he probably would speak more this way, where he's got a little bit faster pace. But I do not know. I will try. But I am not going to do Luka now. I am going to do more like Sadhguru as we progress through this effort that we will attempt to convert shot number. Well, actually, this is the correct shot. 099L. So, let us see what we can do. So I hope my friends, my very good friends out there in YouTube land, I hope you do not mind. I'm not making fun of anyone, by the way. This is part and parcel of the life of a creator of creative media, of an actor, of a writer, of a voice actor. Whatever it is you do, we are always training our craft, and we are always trying to do a better job of what we are doing. And this is what I am doing tonight. I am subjecting you to my learning process. You may see this, excuse me, you may see this as a good thing or a bad thing. I do not know. But for me it is useful, because doing so in the presence of an audience really forces you to be self-aware, to know what you are doing and do it very decisively, let us say. So, in terms of the work, what do we have to do? I will try to become more or less unconscious of this effort to be a different voice for the purpose of practicing the accent. So hopefully I will be able to maintain this without actually trying. I will just simply let it flow. Let us do that. Let us flow. Alright, so what are the steps here? Well, we already have the plastic tool in place. This makes our life a bit easier. But a shoulder shrug, there is no shoulder shrug in this shot. We do not need a shoulder shrug. So we will delete these two animation keys and start ourselves out here. Now, we know that the shot is roughly 32 frames long. So we will modify the length of the shot here now and make it work to the correct length that we think we need for this shot. As you can see, I've clicked this icon here, which hides this shadow that you can see when we render. There's no reason for it to be visible, is there? Of course not. So I take a sip of my tasty beverage, which is what we call a sniffer. If you really want to know what a sniffer is, then I will tell you, but otherwise I will not tell you. It will be my little secret. My Sadhguru secret today. Alright, so you can see very much nothing happens in the scene, because we have not yet figured out the characterization. Now, when we did this shot the other day, I inserted a number of extra blank frames. And by the way, there is something else I need to do, and I think this is why it crashed earlier, actually. I'm pretty sure. We must go to the scene cast panel. Yes, this is probably why it crashed. I must remove all unused levels, of which there were quite a few, actually, from the shot that this particular one is derived from. Of course, if speaking in a different accent is in fact annoying to people, then of course what we will expect is that we will soon have no viewers at all. Everyone will leave. Now, I've said this before, but for your benefit I say it again. If you are using a strip in multiple shots and you have to add another shot, always add it at the end of the line, down here. Never add it in between by making a duplicate. But you say, whoa, Sadhguru, how then will I make a duplicate? The answer is elementary. All you do is use your S key. You select Control A, select all, Control C, and then you go to your other frame and you paste it in. So you do not make a direct duplicate, you paste it in. Oi, Maria says, I still have 3/4 of my bottle of Spanish champagne from the new year. I should work on it tomorrow. What I am drinking is Captain Morgan spiced rum. And what we call a sniffer is at the bottom of the glass, probably less than 1 centimeter of spiced rum. Very, very little. More to smell than to taste. So, what will we do? Well, this shot is the drawing we need. So I hit the S key, Control A, Control C, I go here, Control V. I immediately will save all my work. Save my work. If I don't save, I will be very much regretting it. I'm quite sure. Okay. I do not know if I can sustain this effort with the voice. It is actually kind of difficult. After a time, it becomes a bit tiring. I have to admit. Spice rum is cool to cook with. Yes. Would you, let me ask you this, Maria, would you forgive me if I would switch back to my normal voice? Because this is actually more challenging than I thought for this length of time. Would that be acceptable for you? Hey, completely off the subject. How do you move all the keys in the function editor? How do you move the keys in the function editor? Well, you hit the F3 key to open. Well, this would be the schematic. F2 function editor. Normally, this is what you would do. You will do a bit of searching to find the column that has the animated frames. In this case, I do not know if we have any animated frames yet. As a matter of fact, it appears we do not. However, we can remedy this situation shortly. So, plastic tool, turn to mesh. There, plastic skeleton. There. Now we only have one key, and the skeleton tool makes it quite difficult because every vertex has its own keys. So we will make it simple. Here is what we will do. A key, and then we will move the background just a little bit so that there is something animated. And now we see column 1 has keys. I switch to this view, and now I can grab these keys and move them, as you see. That is one way. The other way, of course, is to move these nodes. I can use which voice thou pleaseth. Oh, good. Selecting is okay, but I can't move them all at once. Okay, so I believe, if I recall correctly, Nagut, I believe that you can lasso. Well, it looks like you can't. Trying to remember, there was something strange about this. I remember getting into a discussion with Darren one time about this. I don't know if this... Yeah, that... So if I hit shift... So as far as doing like you can do in some programs... Actually, I was going to say Blender, but the truth is it used to be easy in Blender, but ever since version 2.5, so really 10 years ago, some of the improvements to the function editor made this one thing more difficult. Because it used to be that in Blender you could actually treat any frame as a single column and just move the columns. So as far as moving them independently here, I'm not sure. There may be a way. You might have to search the docs. Obviously, this is probably stating this stupidly obvious, but if you just move the key like this, you are doing what I'm trying to do here in the function editor. So it seems to me that probably what you're looking for would be the spreadsheet view, where you can grab whatever you want, really. You can grab as many cells and move them. So yeah, my thinking is if I want to move them all at once, I'm actually going to do it here in the X sheet. If I want to move them individually or change them, I'm going to do it here, and then this would be for really fine-tuning, like Bezier interpolation and whatnot. So does that kind of answer your question? I'm not sure. Not quite sure if that was a good answer. So, whatever voice I can use, I may use F. So let me know if that didn't quite answer the question, but I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Alright, now I may revert back to Sadhguru from time to time. It really just matters how I feel at the time. Okay, so what I need to do is switch to that second drawing here. So I'm just going to hit the W key to toggle to the next drawing. And of course the disadvantage to that is that it just changes the first frame. So anyway, no big deal. The other caveat is because I'm using the plastic tool, I really have to make the changes to the character over here in the strip, because once the plastic tool is applied, you can't edit the drawing. You can't draw into it anymore. That's just a thing. It might seem like a dumb thing, but it actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Because if the plastic tool had deformed the character and moved some things around, then obviously wherever you click down with your mouse to draw, you would actually be drawing in the wrong place, because you'd be drawing relative to the positioning of the deformed picture instead of the original picture. So you're having the same problem as me. But see, I don't understand. Let me look at your... Sorry, man. How do you move all of the keys in the function editor? Well, when you say move, do you mean... Okay, I might understand what you're saying here. So one thing that's obviously a little problematic is that there really, I mean, when you select a channel, let's go here to this is the actual function editor. I mean, this view here is actually a Tahoma thing, if I recall correctly. I don't even know if OpenTunes has the curve editor. Maybe it does, but anyway, back in the day, all we had was the spreadsheet. And if you had a screen that was half a mile wide, then you could, I believe, fit as many keys in here. But if you, I'll tell you what, I know what your answer is, probably Nagut. Actually, this is what you probably want to do. It's the first thing I did when I started working on this shot. This is a default hotkey in OpenTunes, but I don't think it is in Tahoma. But so I set the hotkey in Tahoma, but it's Alt up arrow and Alt down arrow. And what that does is in the X sheet literally ripples everything. Just everything in your scene will get rippled up and down. So if that's what you're trying to do, that would be probably the way to do it. Now, if you don't have the hotkey, I'm going to say it's not insert. Is it insert? No, it's not insert. So it's like I have to remember what it is I'm actually doing when I hit Alt arrow, up arrow, and Alt down arrow. But that is the way to ripple your whole scene. You want to move all your keys down 20 frames. You just Alt down arrow, and you can literally just hold the arrow key down and change the timing on your whole scene. So if that's what you're trying to do, that's how I do it. How am I doing it? What is that called? I'm going to go to configure my shortcuts. Gosh, can I search on the shortcut? You can't really search on the shortcut. So I apologize, sir. I just do not remember what that little feature's called. Do you know, Maria? What's that called? What am I doing here? Shift keys down? No. Shift keys down just moves the keys on that particular column. But this is a really useful thing for retiming, definitely. Boy, what the heck is that called? I'm sorry, sir. I cannot remember. I'm looking to see if there's maybe the hotkey shows up beside something, but man, I don't know. Anyway. Darn. Cells. Roll down? Nope. Cells. That's funny. I'm there it is. There it is. I found it. Scene, insert frame and remove frame. So I would definitely set a hotkey for that, because if you're finding you have complex scenes that you need to retime, super useful. And by the way, it's highly destructive. In other words, if I hit Alt up arrow, if I do it one more time, this key will be deleted completely. It'll gone forever. So, but play with that. So there you go, man. Problem solved. It's insert frame and remove frame. Very useful thing for retiming. Well, there goes my sniffer. There wasn't very much in there to begin with. So anyway, so what we want to do is we need Mel to kind of get this quizzical expression, let's say. So, all right, so let's go quizzical. I'm just going to do this in the most simple way possible. I hit the G key to sample the headband, V key to use the Smart Raster Paint tool, and I'm just going to You'll notice I've got it set to lines and areas, so it just erases everything, just colors over everything. Okay? Alright. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get his eye expression right, and then I'm not going to do his eyebrows yet, because I want to get the cock of his head, the way his head cocks. I want to get that right first. And I'm going to save frequently, because it's a little different than the show was before, because the mother was angry before, and now she's just, so now it's more like she's just intruded into the situation. So let's go here, hit the X key, and I think what I did before was, yeah, I think I started here. Whoops, that's not what we want to do. We want to go to animate. Okay, so the scene opens, and he kind of goes like that. So it's just, in fact, I think I'm going to give him one more frame. And then there's a moment of hesitation, and then we'll copy this key. So we don't want him to move. We don't want to interpolate over like 2 seconds. And then let's just see what we want to do. What I was thinking was, yeah, I don't like that. That's a little weak. Let's go further this way. That's not bad. Okay, so L key. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want this to happen a little later, but I still want it to happen quickly, so I'm just going to move both the keys. Save, Control S, save all. Okay, so you copy and paste your keys, which is probably the least efficient way to do it. Well, like I said, if you start using Alt up and down arrow, it becomes pretty addictive, because it's just so fast to take an entire complex scene and retime it. You know, it's by far the easiest way to retime a scene. The catch, if there is one, is that if you have keyframes that are adjacent to one another, one frame apart, where you don't have like a blank frame in between that you can kind of work with, then you do need to be really careful not to accidentally delete the keyframe data. Because, you know, if I go here and I hit Alt up arrow, that is gone forever. Well, of course I can hit undo, but alright, so Sadhguru is pleased. Now the question becomes, what are we going to do with his face? So again, I'm going to go, so I'm just going to go for quizzical. So let's use the purple color, and I'm going to actually rotate my screen a little bit so it's easier to draw. And then I'm thinking I don't like that. Let me do that over. Actually, I don't like having the screen rotated. That's better. That's what I'm looking for. This, like I said, quizzical is probably the right word. Alright, let's go back here, and I'll tighten up the outlines here shortly, but yes! Oh boy, that's exactly what I was looking for. Nice. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm glad that I crashed earlier, because I think that what I just did looks a little better than what I had before anyway, so. Well, you know how it is, man. Everything always goes my way, even when I have a crash. So now I'm going to hit the B key and just go in there and kind of work backwards here and put the outlines in after the fact. My Luna cat just joined for the night and is fascinated by what's happening on my screen. Ah, well, the Luna cat, that's very, very interesting. Sadhguru loves Luna cat. Sadhguru loves all kitty kitty. Loves all the kitty kitties. I like it. Man, I'm actually completely happy with what I just did. Okay, so this is shot 099-L. Okay, so I just saved my work, so now I can go to my output settings. And I think if this goes well and we're able to get it rendered, I may just call it a night, because this is really pretty much what I wanted to finish tonight before I crash. So it's 099L, and we choose that, and we do want -L. So I'm looking at the file naming format in the version that I'm replacing, and it is an underscore there, and I'm pretty sure these are pings. So let's go here and look at the properties, the media. Up, those are pings. Okay, so good. Let's come back to Tahoma, and we saved our work, so we should be able to save and render. And we will pre-compute. There is very much pre-computing that must go down. Very, very good. Pre-computing makes us very, very happy. Okay, so this is still showing up blank, so I'm going to transition here, and hopefully I won't forget, as I have done so many times in the past. Forget to switch back. Which shot did I say that was? I said that was 099L. Final render. And this is going to be at 8 frames per second. 099L. There it is. Drag that baby in there. And let's set the properties to disable resampling. And I think we nailed it. Did we nail it? I think we did. So, let's check it out. So, oh yeah, so this one came out nice too. Tia says, he has nothing. Dudes, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Okay, so obviously that holds way, way, way too long. Boom. So we probably want to smack it to about there. Let's see. Something like that. Let's go back here. So this whole range pretty well covers the stuff I've done over about the last 3 or 4 days. A lot of redos, a lot of fixed up shots. Yeah, I think the way we could punch this up a bit would be to have Tianara's mother start saying her next line of dialogue while Mel's listening. So, looking at the script, she says, "Tianara, we do not speak to such people." So it'd be like, "Tianara, we do not speak to such people." See, that will work. That will actually work. Now, this shot probably needs a little bit of work, too. The pose for Tianara looks completely stupid, but, you know, enough said. You know, it's just, I'm just going through, and every shot that doesn't float my boat, I'm going to go ahead and touch up. So, that's that. But, how do you make it look like you edit it in clips? Hey, Kathleen. Can you restate that? I'm not sure what you're asking me there. You can think about how you want to restate it and maybe help me understand the question, but I'll try to explain what I think maybe you're asking. Now I edit in Vegas, and each of these clips. They are clips, but they each are an image sequence. So Vegas lets me import an image sequence. Oh, how do you make it look like you edit it in clips, like it's a full episode? I'm sorry. I must be an idiot tonight. I'm still not sure I understand the question. So this, I mean, it is a full episode. So this is a 24-minute episode, right? So, I mean, that's exactly what it is. So every time I render out of Tahoma or whatever, Krita, I then import the image sequence by clicking on the first image sequence, and then this little click here says open sequence. So it treats this image sequence as a single video file, basically. And then this is just basically, you know, it's just editing. That's really kind of what you do when you're editing a show or a movie or something. Does that answer your question? I seem to be getting a lot of questions where I'm not, I don't know how to answer the question. How do you make it look like you edit it in clips? So I think what's throwing me is the term in clips. As far as how I edit it, okay, does okay mean that I answered your question? So every program you might use to edit is going to be a little different, but if you're using, you know, if you're using free or open source software, then let's say you're using Blender, for example, it's going to be the same way. I mean, Blender will treat a bunch of images as a single thing in the video editor, right? So there you go. If that doesn't answer your question, then we will pass the question on to Sadhguru and see if he can do a better job of answering your question, because Sadhguru is very, very confused at the moment, trying his very, very best to answer these questions, but he just does not know how. This can be a bit of a problem for Sadhguru. Probably if Sadhguru knew that I was imitating his voice on YouTube, he might sue me. He might say, I will take you to the cleaners. I will take you to the cleaners and put you out of business. That is what I will do to you for making fun of my voice. But see, I'm not actually making fun of his voice. I'm really not. I'm just practicing an Indian accent so that I can then pitch it up and do Luka, because that's this guy. If we go over here, this kid right here. So if we take this Sadhguru voice, but then we pitch it up a little bit like this. We say, so do you like monkeys? You see, this is the voice of Luka. He is an Indian boy, and if I can get away with doing his voice, then I would certainly like to, but I don't know if I can. I will try. This is what I will do. So, yeah, this is how we entertain ourselves in the world of cartoon creation. So you bring in the rendered pings as one clip and continue editing in Krita. Well, again, your terminology's thrown me a bit, because we are not editing in Krita. Now so are you asking a Krita question here? I bring in the rendered pings as one clip in Vegas and then continue editing. And maybe to answer your question, yes. The short answer to your question is yes. In the sense that when I render out an image sequence that's animated, it often turns out to be the case that I will shorten them or lengthen them. Sometimes I'll cut them into pieces. And frankly, Kathleen, there have been many shots where taking a shot that I did earlier, like take this shot. I'll show you what happens here. This is kind of interesting. You may find this creatively helpful. Okay. So if we look at this shot right here where Mel gets startled by Luka and he turns to Luka and he really wants to look at the pretty girl. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Well, if you take this shot and actually start going in reverse, look at this. I'm actually acting here in real time. I'm actually telling a story in real time. So there could certainly be a situation where it would make perfect sense to take this shot, turn it in reverse, and or cut it in pieces and construct an entirely new shot. That's what you do when you're editing. I mean, that's what editing is. It's a whole creative process of its own. Where you use the assets that you have at your disposal and try to construct a story. So in this case, we had this shot where she, let's see here. She gives him the money, and then her mom startles her. So she looks back, and then her mom says, "Darling, what are you doing?" Well, this shot here is literally well, I took this shot and I went like this. I said, well, what if Tianara kind of looks back at the guy like that, and then back to her mom? So she says, well, he has nothing. So just this little piece of this clip gave me this clip. All I had to do is add the moving mouth over top of it, right there, right? You see what I mean? So that's just part of your creative process. And geez, oh Pete, the thing you got to remember. So I'm kind of talking to you here, Kathleen, just to give you some tips about editing. And I speak with authority since I've edited, 8 complete feature films, right? Okay. So one of the things you see in animation, with animation, there's always a temptation to like redraw things, and we're as creative people and artists, we want to draw, that's what we want to do. But in the flow of storytelling, one of the simplest rules that seems to come up again and again and always hold true is that wherever this shot ended is probably where the next shot of that character wants to begin, right? So if it wasn't that shot right there, as you can see I'm jumping, then if this was a whole new drawing, it would really jolt you probably, especially if I got the characterization a little different or something. So it's just stupid to redo something. It's not only more work, but it actually normally harms the storytelling. It actually makes the storytelling worse, not better, So it turns out that the cheap solution is actually the good solution too, So, and that's one of the cool things, I've mentioned this here before many times, is the cool thing about animation is that the stuff that's hard to do, in other words, like high action, the shots I'm working on right now are not action. I mean, they're very, very little movement. It's all about emotion and expression, Well, when you have a lot of action, you go, well, geez, holy cow, I'm going to have to draw a lot of pictures. And then ink and paint a lot of pictures. That's the bad news. The good news is when things are moving really fast like this, you can get a lot sloppier with your drawing because everything goes by so fast your brain can't process it, So anyway. So where are we at? I think we're done for tonight, actually. As I said, I wanted to join with you, my very, very good friends, and practice my voice for Sadhguru, so that I then can later turn it into the voice of Luka. If I can get away with it, I will try. And so that is why I wanted to live stream, and I wanted to recreate the one scene, this shot right here, that I had done earlier, and it was taken away from me. The fates and the universe took it away. They stole it from me by causing a crash at absolutely the very, very worst time. I was rather discouraged by this, but it did not get me down, and I tried again. That is what I will do. I will always try again, and never, never give up. And I think that's a good note to end on. What do you think, guys? I think I've been going for about 45 minutes, and I got one shot done. And tomorrow, what are we going to do tomorrow? Well, let's see. Probably going to punch up this shot a little bit, and then this one has to be completely redone. Because as you can see, there Tianara looks to be about, what she is, 14, 15 years old. Here, she looks like some little squirt, yeah, that shot ain't working at all. There's a lot in this sequence, frankly, that needs some help. Right? A lovely note. So, yeah, there's some stuff through this section of the show that, well, put it this way. from here to here, well, basically to here, is a little rough. Once we get to this shot of Tianara, that shot I like pretty well. I think that one came out pretty nice. But, so this whole zone is a little problematic. And frankly, I can probably get most of this all done in a day, I suspect. You know, how my work changes over time. Well, that can be a good thing and that can be a bad thing. We sincerely hope that the changes represent an improvement, because if they do not, then I have not done my job, have I? No, I'm on track. Honestly, the plan right now, I'm up to here, basically. Am I here? Pretty close. Excuse me. And this has only taken about a week, so I think another week to punch up the rest of this sequence, and then I'll need about a week probably. It might not take a week. It might only take a couple days actually to do the score and lay in the voices, and then I'll be able to release another webisode. Kathleen's asking if the backgrounds are done in Krita. Generally, yes. I would just say as a broad rule, most of the backgrounds have been done in Krita, and it's not like you can't do them into Homa, but if you're into like dealing with layers, and like here you got the foliage brush here and there and stuff like that. So yeah, most of my painting is going to be done in Krita. I'm not especially proud of these background shots. I think they're okay. You know, they're kind of okay. But, you know, if we go forward, I don't know. I have good moments with background images, and I have bad moments. So, but yeah, most of the backgrounds are done in Krita. So, all right, that's it. I'm done. I quit. I'm leaving you guys. Sadhguru would like to say good night and wish you all a wonderful, wonderful evening, and many, many blessings to you. And as he often likes to say, there will be more later.